On the plane of Eldraine, a deadly dessert is a very literal statement. A cookie being to die for will oftentimes lead to you dying to a cookie. Food plays a significant role on Eldraine, both in game design as well as world building. Food as a mechanic was introduced in our first visit to Eldraine, and it's been expanded upon ever since. But now, in Wilds of Eldraine, we've hit the apex of foodom, a cookie commander, a legendary ladyfinger. Who is Syr Ginger the Meal Ender, and how does this cookie crumble? Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today we explore the plane of Eldraine and some of the more tasty entries of this plane's lore in Wilds of Eldraine. Ever since the days of Gingerbrute from Thrones of Eldraine, the idea of food creatures have played on the imaginations of Magic players. Though food has been around since OG Eldraine, there were very few examples of creatures with the food type. Most of the time, foods are simply artifact tokens, with this quick little fella being the exception. With Wilds of Eldraine, we get more food golems, such as Tough Cookie, another sentient gingerbread man. But the most striking in this category has to be Syr Ginger the Meal Ender, who bucks the golem creature type, rising instead to knighthood. In this video, we'll explore the lore of these conscious cookies and learn the history of Syr Ginger. But first, a shout out to today's video sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by eWin Gaming Chairs. They sent me over this absolute beast of a chair to try out, and it was amazing. I've bought and used a lot of gaming chairs over the years, and I gotta say, from the delivery to the packaging to the easy to follow instructions, I have nothing but positive things to say about eWin chairs. Everything arrived perfectly, with most of it already pre-assembled. It's seriously one of the easiest chairs I've ever put together. They even provided these nifty handling gloves so that you won't grime up the chair during its construction. My wife was helping me film this video, and she thought me wearing these gloves was just hilarious. But really, it's a nice extra thought for the consumer, which I appreciate. Assembly was a snap. See, look at this beauty. Okay, well, it took a bit more time than that. In all, it probably took me under 15 minutes to put the whole thing together. And in terms of effort, well, it's the middle of the summer and my AC has been out. My level of sweat, though, during this build was minimal, so that's a major plus. While I work on the chair, sped up for sanity's sake, let me just run down for you some of the great features of this chair. The back of the chair has an insane tilt to it, leaning back 85 to 155 degrees, so you can customize your own comfort. The seat is incredibly padded with premium leather used throughout. I've been using this chair for about a week now, and I've been able to match my specific height requirements to sit comfortably even at my adjustable desk. Me being a taller fella, functionally, it's been the easiest to adjust and fit to exactly what I need. I can't recommend eWin chairs enough. I'm a bigger guy, but this thing is large and hardy, and I'll get plenty of years of video editing and gaming out of it for sure. It's a real heavy-duty chair, so no matter your size or sitting frequency, you'll feel comfortable all day long. And look at this final product. Beautiful design, lumbar and neck support pillows, fully adjustable armrests, lean tilt, and height. It's really one of the best gaming chairs I've ever tried. And right now you can use my code ETHER, A-E-T-H-E-R, to get 20% off of your very own chair. Just follow my link in the pinned comment or in the video's description. Remember, use the code ETHER for an extra discount. And thank you to eWin Gaming Chairs for sponsoring today's video. Wilds of Eldraine has shown us just how much this plane cares about food, and how much chaos can be caused if said food is disrupted. Say by, making it come to life. Food as a mechanic has mostly always centered around sacrificing and gaining life from food artifact tokens. It's very flavorful, pun intended, but food has also grown and developed into many different deck styles and archetypes, with Wilds of Eldraine continuing to build upon that. But what exactly is up with these food golems? Not only do we have the traditional gingerbread men in Gingerbrute and Tough Cookie, but you also have these things that aren't classified as food, but come on, they're clearly edible. Like devouring Sugar Mall and those monstrosities depicted in Night of the Sweet's Revenge, and Greta, Sweetooth's Scourge. And let's not forget the hilariously named Scream Puff. These rather strange sweets all lead us back to a location on Eldraine where what you eat can, and often does, take a bite out of you. A place simply called Sweetooth. Sagas in MTG are used to depict larger stories, explained more thoroughly through their design than average cards. In Wilds of Eldraine, we have the saga Welcome to Sweetooth, which tells the tale of this savorily unsavory place. Its art shows us a cautionary tale, one spun through myth and folklore for generations, of children following trails of free candy only to find their doom at its end. The lighting of this art implies this foreboding end, with the image getting darker as the trail extends further towards these creepy cabins. But what is Sweetooth, and why does it have such aggressive food? Sweetooth is a town deep in the wilds of Eldraine, shrouded by dark forests where little light peers through. It's believed witches long ago cursed food so that they would attack their consumers as a means to strike back against those gluttonous who have plenty but yet refuse to share. Over time, however, these sentient foods would go out and form their own communities, build their own gingerbread houses, and found Sweetooth. They, of course, still need to eat, and as cursed golems of witches, they typically eat children. So they bait children from nearby villages on the borders into Sweetooth with loose trails of candy until they wander unwittingly into their maws. Another theory is that a witch, still hungering for tasty kids, created all these monstrous meals as a means to capture ingredients. The town of Sweetooth that they built was just another piece of bait to coax children into their trap. That's why we see heroic figures like Greta here, fighting against this evil force. No amount of frenzied food will keep her from exacting justice for those who couldn't fight back, nor will any other child fall to this witch's sugary siren call. In fact, Greta will always go back for seconds, ensuring the safety of every youngling on Eldraine. This would account for various minty monsters and carnivorous cakes we see on Eldraine. But what about the heroine of our sweet story? A witch's spell alone may not be what brings these ginger people to life. There exists an artificer and baker named Brenard, who fancies himself a ginger sculptor. Being an artificer may add to why these food creatures are considered golems. We don't know a lot about this colorful character, but looking at his card from Wilds of Eldraine's commander decks gives us a glimpse into his possible motivations for crafting these little living cookies. Giving all food and golems you control +2/+2 is just natural for the Ginger Sculptor. It's his second ability that adds to his story. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it, and if you do, you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 food golem artifact creature in addition to its other types. It also gains the standard food ability. I think old Bernard here bakes cookies in the likeness of people he knows that may have passed away. A sweet way to remember them maybe. Whether the golems come to life by his design or by some witch's curse, we don't yet know. But Bernard was likely the chef on duty in Castle Ardenvale at some point, which sets in motion the story of our high fructose heroine. Syr Ginger's glorious story starts from very humble origins. Baked in an Ardenvale oven at 375 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes. But from simple ingredients comes a hero the likes of which Eldraine has never seen before. Most of Syr Ginger's backstory was covered in the cinematic trailer for the original Eldraine set, Throne of Eldraine. As she comes to life, she finds herself entangled, literally, with a gentleman gingerbread. Being physically attached seems to also result in romantic feelings between the pair, as the unnamed gingerbread man shows he cares for his new partner. It's a storybook pairing until things start to get a little rocky. The hulking and slightly cursed planeswalker, Garrick Wildspeaker, breaks into the Ardenvale kitchen and ransacks the place while attacking the guards. While trying to escape the carnage, the cookie couple are doused in milk, their ultimate weakness. and then they're separated while Syr Ginger is hanging above a boiling cauldron. Luckily, Syr Ginger survives this fall, but rises just in time to see her gingerbread man get eaten by the bulky planeswalker. Syr Ginger flies into a rage as she lashes out at Garruk, but the result of that encounter, well, it's lost to time. At the very least, we know both involved lived to see another day, as Garruk went on to become decursed in Throne of Eldraine's story, and we clearly see that Syr Ginger has continued her glorious campaign against planeswalkers. Now, she rides atop her trusty baked steed named Cinnamon, which of course all good knights need, looking for her eternal enemies, planeswalkers. Let's take a look at Syr Ginger's card in Wilds of Eldraine and see how well her lore is represented. This is Syr Ginger the Meal Ender, fighting the good fight for all of foodkind. As an artificial creature, the card is colorless, with a casting cost of 2 generic mana, and it's a legendary food knight. It has trample, hexproof, and haste as long as an opponent controls a planeswalker. Whenever another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on Syr Ginger and scry 1. And of course, as a food, it has the food ability, but with a boost. Because Syr Ginger is a total unit, it doesn't just gain you 3 life, but rather it gains you life equal to its power. Breaking down the card, the first portion of text really goes to show you just how much Syr Ginger hates planeswalkers. Since Garruk, a planeswalker, killed her beloved, this Cookie Knight has gone on a crusade against him and all of his kind. This is a true planeswalker-hating pastry, and her fervor will not be sated until her serving fork is plunged into interplanar flesh. So when she sees a planeswalker, Syr Ginger flies into a rage, gaining all of these wonderful combat keywords when she sees one. Its second ability, gaining 1/1 counters and scrying when another one of your artifacts enters the graveyard, plays perfectly with other food tokens. As food tokens generally only exist to be sacrificed, food-focused decks throw a lot of these artifacts into the graveyard. In a lore sense, it's clear Syr Ginger got her title, the Meal Ender, because of her food-first ideology. Seeing other foods destroyed, or consumed in this case, well, that's going to make her angrier, but stronger. As her power increases, her size increases, and if there's more cookie to eat, it will gain you more life. Which leads perfectly into her final ability, this augmented food ability that she has. All in all, I find that Syr Ginger's card text matches very flavorfully to her story. As far as flavor goes, she's a baker's dozen. Look, the cookie-based jokes will always be a part of this card's shtick. I mean, it was a meme character added in the first place, essentially just for flavor's sake. So just roll with it and suffer through your opponent's inevitable jokes the entire match. Food on Eldraine, to wrap this whole video up, seems to be a much bigger deal than its mechanics suggest. I hope we learn more about sentient food, this Sweetooth place, with all of these deadly desserts, as well as those fighting against these delicious devils like Greta. I want to know more about how they came to be. What kid-hungry witch cast this spell? Or does this Brenard person really shape them to be reminders of those long past? And what has Syr Ginger accomplished since being knighted? Has she encountered any other planeswalkers in her travels? All questions I hope find some resolution someday. For now though, this is how Syr Ginger's cookie crumbles. Last one, sorry, I just had to fit it in at the end here. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, despite my bad puns, please consider throwing the video a like, sharing it with friends, and becoming a subscriber. It all goes a long way in supporting the channel. And until next time, guys, see ya!